15-minute average session time. That's cool. That's super cool in kids' terms.
Approved by the teachers. There is absolutely no point in this at all.
Google rules do not allow ads longer than 5 seconds.
Yes, but no.
So, the number of people watching Play Bluff decreases significantly compared to before.
We still have a decent amount of traffic there, and we are just afraid to even breathe in its direction so that it doesn't lose it. I would like to have a conversation about the image representing the ideal project that I have in mind. It is evident that there is no magical rule, but if you do it in this manner, Google will provide you with traffic. And then there will be one last point, which is about monetization. I think it won't be interesting for us to discuss such obvious points here, like your project should not crash there giving INR. And over there, and in order to have content, that is something that is already understood and accepted as a fact.
Is it possible for me to make a comment right away?
Yes.
I had access to the account. At one point we had some applications there. I won't say which ones. They were not only inflated, but crashes were at approximately 25%. The percentage of INRs experiencing crashes remained the same, and the app had a tremendous amount of organic traffic. It was flourishing completely without any paid acquisition.
This is a brand 22 to 23 years old.
And provided that there is simply a treatable catastrophe there.
What a situation. We were intending to sign a contract, but then a conflict erupted indeed, and we made the decision not to proceed with signing the contract. But for quite understandable reasons, because these are Russian comrades, but they had organic reach. I can even say again, it's IP, it's a brand, and they have exclusive IT probably because of this, so this is an important factor. One raid accounted for 17 or 20%, and there were between 2,000 and 3,000 installations.
No, more, Oleg, there was a lot there.
15K, yes, in my view.
The whole account was performing well in that location. And while in all other places we were facing a decrease, there was actually growth.
I would like to express that the information you have just provided confirms that there is a common thread that runs through our entire conversation. This is what we do not comprehend and how to make it give consideration to you.
Oleg and I went to 4 or 5 closed, specialized conferences, and they were able to find the answers we were looking for. We talked to different brand teams.
I'm sorry, did you not find the answers because you were not told or because they themselves do not know?
They claim that we haven't taken any action, so if there are changes in the market, it is most likely because of new algorithms. Therefore, we need to adapt to them, indicating that there are no errors, and we don't perceive any mistakes on our part. Did approved thing by teacher give something to someone?
It did not provide any results. The thing is completely meaningless. It is not functioning at all. We have received approval in numerous applications from teachers, and my experience is this is completely meaningless, we thought.
It'll gain momentum, but it has not gained momentum yet. Evgeny, if the app is well received, you can submit for featuring. That's the only plus. And then there's a boost.
I believe the previous occasion we were featured was in 2018.
You should submit for featuring. If your application is approved, then you submit for featuring. It gets scheduled, and for us, the only thing that is clear right now is which scheme is working smoothly. If it does not drop by that time, then featuring is available. I mean, roughly there were 1K installs, then it became 4K. Deploying with the bare minimum.
We were approved by the teachers. A notification comes that your game is approved. Then a week later, a notification comes for the same game that your game is not approved. Then 1 month passes and once again this game is approved by the teacher. There is absolutely no point in this at all.
We also need to balance between what, in our case at least, to get featured, to get approved by the teacher, we need to reduce the amount of advertising. So right now, let's say we are displaying this amount of advertising in our games.
Jen, we also have an advertising terrorist strategy, and the identical application in the identical period may or may not be included at the same time. So here you cannot guess. Once it is in, submit it for featuring and hope that it does not drop out. We've had the experience that featuring goes through and then it drops out. Well, at least we got a little bit of traffic. Did anyone manage to access Google Play Pass? How were you able to get in there?
They arrived at our location voluntarily. However, at that time I was still in the PM team, CEO was handling it. As far as I know, they came to us on their own, they offered their assistance. We definitely had our best performance there at the transport building. I'm not sure if there was anything else belonging to us there, perhaps.
Was she donating?
Regrettably, I am unable to provide any specific details, except that we did not experience any noticeable increase in performance during our time there. The lack of a significant boost was quite evident.
Well, I understand that we had a version that Group League Pass might help to enter similar ones, but that's it.
Well, let's say the apps I see, which for example fall into a similar category, have one or two apps with a Play Pass on their account. There could have been a theory that the account underwent some sort of verification, perhaps a recommendation from a manager, and subsequently they made enhancements.
Do you frequently get featured? How frequently do you experience this in a year?
Probably approximately 5 times already. If we see that there is an application, we usually, well, since there are many games in the team, we try to schedule them, so it turns out 3 weeks before featuring, they need to be submitted.
Let us talk in numbers. It is 3,000 less now.
Well, it varies. One of our applications grew from 2 to 10, while the other went from 1,000 to 3. But in principle,
we once got featured in the top 10 countries somewhere, and we had a super short-term boost there, like plus 40 or plus 50,000. We were there for probably 2 weeks. And sometimes when you enter a country, it's like a plus 1,000 there or plus 3,000. I'm curious, if you feature a lot, does it affect not only the fact of featuring and traffic, but also, for example, similar ones? Well,
in principle, it falls into similar categories in certain countries, and that is what we refer to as a type of featuring or highlighting. Because basically we saw that where our installs were coming from, she began to appear in similar ones.
As an illustration, I am able to mention from our standpoint that we do not have a single game in our portfolio that currently receives normal traffic with a duration of less than 40 minutes of engagement, for example. I am referring to the amount of time spent playing the game throughout the course of the month. So, most probably it will be anywhere between 4 and 10 sessions, with an average session duration ranging from 8 to 13 to 14 minutes.
Well, I would like to mention that we have games, e.g., with a duration of 10-15 minutes, and they are positioned right at the top.
So 10-15 minutes per month. Well, 15 minutes as the average session time is cool. It's really cool in terms of kids' standards. In kids' games, the average duration of a session is 6 minutes, which is somewhat similar to something already.
We have games that are not very big in terms of sessions, and we have quite decent performance indicators. So I do not have knowledge of the extent to which...
Andre, I comprehend that your current situation is slightly unconventional and not entirely typical in nature. You cannot directly refer to it as a baby. It is not a baby. No, it is not a baby. There are most likely, I'm absolutely certain there are exceptions, but at the very least I clearly observe a correlation in that if the game enters similar, it receives traffic. Therefore, for me, for a duration of 2 months, I diligently scraped the bottom of the game that fell out of similar and was no longer in the similar category. Now she ended up in that place once again. It is a game in which there are approximately 15 engagements that take place every month. It is most likely about 8 minutes away from the 10 axis in that particular area or vicinity, and these types of similar games are presently receiving a substantial amount of traffic from users, something minuscule for the present moment. I do not have any precedents or prior experiences for a game without content to attract traffic and generate interest. I am talking about children now.
Zhenya, how often do you conduct experiments on the app page? Are there pauses between experiments?
We need to inquire with our ASO department, but in actuality they give more importance and higher priority to experiments. By the way, they prioritize watering the most productive seeds initially. In addition, when it comes to the rating of installations of our games, they also conduct experiments to gather data. I would probably say that they experiment with icons, typically for a period of 2 to 3 months. However, currently, we have an ongoing process in place to continuously improve. It's worth mentioning that they prioritize the most productive seeds first. Presently, we have an ongoing and iterative process to enhance our games. We presently have approximately 40 games that have been released, and here are the top, let's say, top 15 by downloads. They receive experiments on a regular basis, approximately every 2 to 3 months. We create around 5 to 6 icons during these experiments and test them, as trends in icons are constantly evolving and changing. Screen trends change over time, so we make an effort to visually explore new styles and experiment with regional or localized icons. This can involve using national colors in icons or incorporating elements that are representative of a particular country. For example, if a game revolves around police officers and features a police car icon, we can strive to insert a police car design that closely resembles the ones commonly seen in that specific country. By doing so, we aim to create a more immersive and culturally relevant experience for our users. If there is any traffic in a particular country, this traffic can experience a significant increase if, for instance, you create a police car specifically for an Arab country in that location, in the manner in which it is with them, that is, so that it responds to them. So this has the potential to yield results. It may or may not, but we have precedents where such behavior, such changes have given us significant growth and development in the past. But again, this is not a panacea, not what's the right word to choose. In summary, this does not ensure that you will receive something, because occasionally we have even experienced a negative impact, but this is what has an impact. So you can conduct experiments that don't affect anything at all, which more or less give you the same results as you already have, but experiments like these do have an impact.
Just one of the theories was that maybe experiments should be done less frequently, or there should be a period chosen between experiments for certain metrics to stabilize, robots to learn, and place you in the right spot somehow.
Naturally, we end up with a gap of around a couple of months. Well, on top projects, it's less, probably around 2 months. On older projects, it could be like once in 6 months. Well, not on old ones, but at the bottom of the list, because there could be new projects, but kind of without traffic.
We hardly have any breaks.
But as far as I understand, whether new or old, they still don't make it to similar.
No, it doesn't depend on the icons at all. Well, at least we don't have any experience of a game getting into similar, because the associates were conducting some experiments and happened to guess right, and it ended up in Hoppy. No, that did not happen. In Similar, we only receive, let us say, when Google reindexes there on weekends or whatever they do there, after the next weekend, boom, and you suddenly started receiving 15 visitors from a 1,000 traffic in just 2 days. The increase in traffic was quite significant, going from 1,000 to 15 in just a span of 2 days.
I'll tell you a little bit. In my mind, the perfect project is a project with good growth, which theoretically can still be invested in.
And I concur with Oleg as well. I also hold the belief that one should have the capability to engage in procurement and emerge as the victor. Because it's risky relying on organic traffic. If you have a small network of applications and something isn't in the algorithms, you lose organic traffic and that's it.
I would now cite a few cool quotations or explain what the quotation is when you need to comprehend and grasp what we can exert influence on and what we need to acknowledge and accept there and so forth. Something along those lines and similar in nature. In brief, I desired to talk about something more practical, something that we can have an impact on. We can influence the quality of our game, the amount of content in it, its diversity, and the App Store optimization, ASO. The idea is that someone can impact non-obvious elements. It seems, at least in my perspective, that the main correlation is that a game should have high engagement, indicating a significant amount of content. By exerting our influence, we can shape the game to have a greater impact on players, ensuring a more enjoyable experience. This involves enhancing the quality, quantity, and diversity of content, as well as optimizing it for better visibility and discoverability in app stores. She should have a lot of content to be interesting, all those little details, the ones that used to get traffic back in those holy sacred times of Google Play before the year 2016. Well, it doesn't work like that anymore. In other words, the game must be of high quality. The concept of the company changed because we then thought that to earn money, we needed to make many games. We didn't really bother much about their quality. Then at some point, let's say something happened, there was some meetings with Google, and our concept changed. We are like that. We don't do much, we do little, but we do it with quality. So far, this concept keeps us afloat, meaning we focus on quality projects and try not to get scattered on a large number of trivial things.
There are also opinions that it is necessary to increase monetization in applications, that is, conversion to payment and the average check itself. A correlation can be seen between the revenue generated and the organics in the company Apple.
We also conducted such an analysis of our apps, but did not find any correlations. We have a top app in terms of LTV and number of paying users. I cannot name it, but we possess it. Let's assume if there is a top 10, how to express it, a bot 10, it is present in our bot 10 in our projects on installations. We ourselves generate traffic to it because it somewhat generates income and even generates income reasonably well on the traffic we send to it. My objective is to reach Ilya by employing cross-promotion and cross-posting techniques for communication. But it doesn't get organic traffic alone, despite a high rate.
These are some mini games, most likely, judging by the fact that
we have all mini games, but there's a thematic game with mini games.
Evgeny, have you checked the organic traffic? During the experiments, initially you had one monetization model in the app and made a certain amount of money. Then it improved and the organic traffic increased. Here you did not measure based on the example of one application. We kind of observed it on our own. Good question?
I am currently attempting to analyze the situation mentally, as I had developed an application a few years ago for the purpose of experimenting with increasing monetization. In one of the applications, I observed a significant positive impact, potentially attributed to a small initial value, resulting in a boost of approximately 70%. As a result, I was able to achieve a twofold increase in the average check. As I am presently conducting retrospectives in my mind, I arrive at the conclusion that perhaps approximately 10 to 15% of the traffic has experienced an increase from its previous level to its current level, and this change has already occurred, well, most likely a year and a half since the conclusion of the experiment. Therefore, there is definitely no direct correlation. It is possible that this is merely a coincidence.
I am not the sole individual who has observed this. My colleagues in the private social chat platform have also confirmed the same. About iOS, I'm referring to iOS.
This was also exclusively on iOS. I had this experiment on iOS. For instance, in that case, I implemented an advanced purchasing system where users have the ability to purchase different content packs instead of only buying the complete version in comparison to the free or ad-supported versions. There are a large number of them. Switching from one pack to another at a discount, there are these special offers that pop up periodically, plus we've locked more content there for advertising, which has led to a certain financial growth. Well, as I said, around 70%, but in terms of traffic, these 70% or more definitely weren't there, and to this day they're not. So more or less the game remains at the same positions in terms of installs on iOS as they were back then.
Well, our growth there wasn't huge either, maybe around 10, 15, I don't remember exactly.
Well, if we consider this as a measure of growth,
of course. Yes, it doesn't directly rely on it there. Revenue doubled, organic growth won't double.
I would like to double the income. Organic has grown by 20 times. Please, like this.
Apologies, but the answer is negative.
I wanted to ask for a comment from Katya with Kulakova, because Katya, who just listens and doesn't say anything. Indeed, Katya, representing the renowned company Depgun, is a highly skilled individual possessing a remarkable level of mastery. She holds valuable insights that she should share with us. Katya, please.
Yes, hello everyone. Well, I'll start probably from the very beginning on what Toller was also talking about when he says, who actually watches the application for 2 minutes. As a mother of 2, I thoroughly research before installing apps by watching streams, reading reviews, and taking my time.
So that's who messes up the statistics.
Yes, I am more interested in statistics. Yes, I install applications for both my 3-year-old and 8-year-old children because I want them to learn and not just mindlessly play random applications. Here. Next. With regard to the timing of teachers endorsing the app, we have observed a slight increase in organic growth on our end as a result, for example. This demonstrates the positive impact of teacher endorsements on the app's popularity and user base. Therefore, we make every effort for teachers to approve our application, and then we observe significant growth through their valuable support and collaboration.
And how much is a small growth?
Unfortunately, I can't say what growth because I wasn't prepared, as someone else is in charge of this, but there is growth, and I see that everyone is very happy when we are approved, and I think it's probably significant.
In our company, in order to obtain approval from the instructors, all we need to do is decrease the quantity of advertising. So we clearly see this correlation, and we constantly receive rejections from you, and the reason stated by you is that there is too much interrupting advertising or something similar. We decrease it, then about 2 months elapse there, but it undergoes another examination. That is the standard operating procedure in this case. However, simply reducing the amount of advertising leads to a significant 40% drop in our advertising revenue, for instance.
Yes, we don't have aggressive advertising. We don't have that much advertising. It's there, but not too much, and I think that's why, in general, our teacher offers are approved. Here, I also had a question for Evgeny. You mentioned that we will have a separate topic on monetization.
Yes, this is the ultimate question that I am extremely eager to talk about at this very moment.
Yes, I actually had a question about playable ads. For example, in our own applications, we always disable playable ads because we see some negative comments in the reviews.
Yes, you're doing it right, because we were discussing a different playable ads. It was regarding our native playable ads.
Yes, I understood that, but I actually had a question about them using TV advertising.
Here, the advertisement is mostly turned off because they often push us into reports from gaming consoles about your ad not meeting the age criteria you specified, or because there was no option to close it within a 5-second time frame, or due to the presence of some abusive content that violates the platform's guidelines and policies.
And let's not forget that these are applications designed for children, and they are highly effective in engaging and educating young users. So the number of people watching Play Bluff decreases significantly compared to before.
Yes, that's why we include it, but I thought maybe someone will see it differently.
By the way, does anyone track that? We have a metric known as bounce rate on the internet, well, either on the internet or on Reward. Does anyone track churn rates for these? I can state for ourselves that we have churn rates ranging from 13% to 18% in different games.
Well, we also had those.
The higher the churn rate on interacts, the more opportunities there are for reaching a younger target audience, which can lead to increased engagement and growth in user base. We have Babyphone, which is supposedly for 1-2-year-old children, or maybe 3, and there is the biggest dump of interas.
On reverbs or inters?
Well, we do not have rewards specifically in this game, but overall they do not differ much between rewards and in-game currency. By the way, for this reason, we currently use interstitials in many games instead of rewards. That is, we have a lock with the word ads on some content, and we place interstitials instead of rewards under this lock because
Google rules do not allow ads longer than 5 seconds.
Yes, but no. In games for children, we provide rewards and they simply go through it without encountering any problems. We have never received a strike or report for the reward in our children's game, specifically a game that is intended for children. They have this in their rules, but for some reason they do not strictly adhere to it. And besides, it does not make sense because the CPM chain, in short, is essentially and practically the same in practice. There, hypothetically speaking, for a total of 1,000 impressions, we, for example, hypothetically speaking, receive a payment of 1.3 cents in a certain country, and for 1,000 rewards we receive 1.4 cents. Rewards have considerably higher drop-offs, indicating that they are somewhat longer, require more time to watch, and cause more annoyance to users. That is why I promptly provide you with this insight. Where you desire to insert a reward, you can insert inter instead of a reward. So it works more or less the same way, but it has a much more loyal user base with fewer drop-offs, less user irritation, and so on.
There are nuances. Nuances are related to eCPM DK, and at least my advice from a monetization perspective is to add at least one ad unit for 4 impressions in order to optimize revenue and maximize earnings potential while ensuring a balanced user experience and avoiding ad fatigue. Because their first view ICPM is the same. So if we're talking about having an equal number of inter and reward views, then your ICPM will be the same. If your inter impressions are 10x higher than reward impressions, then the ICPM reward will be 2-3x higher. Showing the record to oneself will be 2 billion more, right?
That's why we should try, because I had thoughts to combine. I was thinking that maybe where we provide some more piece of content to put reward instead of inter, well, let's see. What you just said really inspires and motivates me. Please continue to inspire and motivate me with your words. Thank you very much. Regarding monetization, I can also share an insight that closing content in pieces for rewards works quite effectively. Instead of which, as I mentioned before, we use interstitials. Based on our experience, users generally tend to be more loyal to watching ads when the ads do not pop up unexpectedly, when they have not requested them, and when they are explicitly told that if they want to play a certain game, they should watch an ad, and then they actually watch the ad without skipping or closing it prematurely. Then it begins to play, indicating that the impression per session is growing, which contributes to an overall improvement in the metrics and suggests that the performance is working quite well. If anyone wants to share. Well, as you've understood from me, I can confidently say that the entire basis of our monetization revolves around advertising. Well, as is the case in most instances under Android, under iOS, our income is 50-50. So there we also work on subscriptions and purchases. In the Android platform, they do not bring much, so we have them there nominally for the sake of completeness. We don't particularly invest our effort or resources there. Share with us, for example, how monetization is structured. Either you want to share something or maybe you have a different principle altogether. Let's share at least some information, some data.
Here, I know there are colleagues, Altai and Maria, whose monetization is almost entirely different there. For us, Android is more of a hybrid towards advertising, and advertising does prevail. In terms of iOS, our objective is to shift towards a subscription-based approach and enhance automation. Conversely, with regards to Android, our attention naturally gravitates towards Chile, advertising, and the corresponding ratio in that particular market. Android 95-5, iOS 70-30, as I said. 70-30 towards what? Advertising. In terms of income?
70-30 in favor, sorry, but too early or bots. I wonder why that is, and how developed is your subscription monetization in iOS? Well, I mean, there you can, for example, make just one purchase or one subscription, disable ads, and get the full version.
You know, the thing is, we have a substantial amount of traffic from the junior segment in India and other countries on iOS due to brands and the affordability of products in those regions. Despite being on iOS, the level of purchases is not very high in these cheaper countries. We have a large quantity of iPhone 8 smartphones. We will be discussing the innovative device, breakdown. I wanted to clarify once again. You mentioned children's locks and so on. Do you still have games in the children's category on iOS?
I believe we have one remaining in the children's category. Alternatively, I believe there is one and an additional educational one.
Well, you know, if the game is categorized as being for children, you will not even bother to pick it up or give it a second thought. That's why we have no games in kids category. Where kids category is, there is no advertising. This is what's left without any advertising. There's simply no advertising point. So if we're talking about 50-50, this piece here, it's 100% somehow underperforming.
The game that we have left has quite good traffic, and we are just afraid to even breathe in its direction so that it doesn't lose it because, well, compared to other games, it kind of gives more than other games, even considering that they have ads. Simply because it has a lot of traffic, we absolutely do not touch it in any way, and as long as it works, do not touch it is cold. Well, yeah, I understand that advertising, you say 70%, for some reason we end up with 50-50.
Do you also have a position in multiple categories on the Google search engine platform?
And in Google, we are present in various categories. Well, Google determines on its own that it is a platform for children. You can say it's not for kids, but if it looks like it's for kids, Google will pop up and say it looks like it's for kids, so it's for kids.
And have you noticed any difference from the children's mixed category?
I currently do not possess the data you require.
We have set up such an experiment now, taking one game out of the children's section, so far with no results.
About a year ago, we removed our games from the children's category, and clearly, we do not want to go back there.
Was there some change, or is it just me?
In the original, everything has completely changed. Yes, but at least we can still go shopping.
Hey co-workers, I genuinely enjoyed the conference call. I truly hope all of you heard something new and valuable.
Colleagues, you all are awesome. Thank you for being here with us today. It was extremely interesting to chat.
Jen, thank you so much for the material, for the preparation. Thanks to the guys for the answers, for the opinion.